Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to welcome you all to today's session. I am pharmacist Taiwo Olawehimi. It's great to have you all here, and I thank you for joining us this afternoon. Today is World Pharmacist Day. Happy World Pharmacist Day to every one of us. I believe all of us, or say most of us, are pharmacists or pharmacy students. Thank you very much for joining us. And cheers to making the world better. Cheers to ensuring access to quality and affordable medications in whatever field we find ourselves. Cheers to being excellent professionals in whatever field we are currently practicing in or whatever field we hope to practice in. Today's webinar is has been provided courtesy of Pharma Incubation Hub. Pharma Incubation Hub is an initiative for pharmacy students across Nigeria to build them to be exceptional pharmacy students who will also grow to become exceptional pharmacists when they begin to practice. It's a 3-month program with a series of leadership sessions on soft skills, as well as mentorship. The participants get to be paired with one mentor in their area of interest. And such areas of interest could be within pharmacy or outside of pharmacy. And today's session is basically a part of the program. But because it's World Pharmacist Day, and because we think that a session like this is going to be very important for people who were not privileged to be selected as part of this year's cohort, we decided to make it open to everyone and anyone. So whether you're a pharmacy student or a pharmacist, whether you are selected for this cohort or not, whether you're selected for a previous cohort or not, you get this opportunity to be a part of today's session. And I am so excited that we have speakers who are exceptional in their fields. Our speakers for today, coincidentally, have experience in community pharmacy. However, they have gone beyond the status quo, beyond community pharmacy practice with which they started or with which they have experience. And we have someone like pharmacist Kolawole Adeniyi, who is currently regional marketing manager at Airtel Nigeria. We've got pharmacist Mitchelle Masuko, who is Zimbabwean, by the way, and she's currently an oncology clinical scientist at Merck. I'm sure that for as many of us who are interested in research and development, we will find her session insightful. And we've also got pharmacist Yewande Adekoya, who is operations manager at Advantage Health Africa. She is in the management and consulting arm for community pharmacies across Nigeria. I like that their fields are not regular for most of us. I like that today we will be able to learn from people who have gone beyond the status quo. We will be able to pick 1 or 2 points that will challenge us to be exceptional as we all grow in our fields. I should say that the fact that we have these speakers for today has been born out of networking. That's one thing we teach participants in Pharma Incubation Hub, to learn how to network with people online and offline. Last week, we had a session with pharmacist Adeniyi who has been recognized as one of the top professionals on LinkedIn. And she was sharing with our participants last week great tips for networking. I should say that I have never met Kolawole Adeniyi physically, but we've networked online. First time I got to interact with him online, I just knew that, this is someone exceptional. This is someone pharmacy students need to learn from. And I'm so glad that he accepted to speak with pharmacy students today. Kolawole Adeniyi has worked in pharmaceuticals. He has worked in FMCG, and he's currently in the telecommunications industry. So you should know that he is someone with a great load of stuff. He's someone that you should listen to anytime, every time, whenever you've got the opportunity to. And I'm so glad that he accepted to speak with us today. Mitchelle Masuko, I have never met her as well, but I knew that I interviewed her about 2 years ago when I volunteered with IPSF Afro. IPSF Afro is the African region of the International Pharmaceutical Students Federation. Yes. So I was still in final year then. I got the opportunity to volunteer with IPSF African region on the Media and Publications Subcommittee. I also got the opportunity to interview pharmacists across the African region who were trailblazing at the time. And she popped up at that point in time. I got that opportunity to interview her. And upon interviewing her, I knew that she was someone that pharmacy students across Nigeria needed to listen to. And I'm so glad that she accepted to speak with us today. So there is no limit to knowledge that you can gain, especially when you open your heart to such knowledge. There is no limit to the knowledge that you can gain, especially when you maximize the power of networking. As you listen to the speakers of today, you can reach out to them on LinkedIn. Even fellow participants here can reach out to them so that you can take the conversation further. Pharmacist Yewande Adekoya, of course, I have met her because she's my direct supervisor at work. And she's someone who is trailblazing. She's so passionate about pharmacy practice, especially community pharmacy. And that's why I'm so glad that she will be speaking with you all today. We understand that pharmacy practice as it is today isn't where we so desire it to be, especially in Nigeria and indeed in Africa. She is someone who looks at community pharmacy practice through a different set of lenses. And I think that it's important for her to share her thoughts with us today, especially pharmacy students, so that as we try to choose our areas of our fields of interest in pharmacy practice, we are able to do that from a point of knowledge, from a point of clarity, so that we're able to do whatever we do with the mindset of value delivery. I'm glad that our speakers for today are unconventional, and I do hope that you will open your hearts to learn from them. Pharmacist Kolawole Adeniyi will be speaking first, followed by Pharm Mitchelle Masuko, followed by Pharm Yewande Adekoya. They have about an hour each, so we're looking at 45 minutes per main session with 15 minutes for questions and answers. So I hope that we will be able to stick to time. But beyond that, I hope that we'll enjoy ourselves. I hope that we'll learn a lot. I hope that we'll have a mindset shift that will transform us as individuals, that will transform us as professionals, and that will transform pharmacy practice, not only in Nigeria, but in Africa, and of course, the world at large. Once again, happy World Pharmacist Day. Pharmacist Kolawole Adeniyi will be speaking with us on the concept of thriving in a dynamic work environment. And the reason we chose this topic is because of his experience and expertise in different work environments. Like I mentioned earlier, he has worked with top pharmaceutical companies. He has worked in FMCG with Jumia Nigeria. He has worked with Fan Milk as a company. He's currently working with Airtel. This is someone who has been able to thrive in different landscapes beyond pharmacy practice. And we always say that pharmacy school prepares you to be able to excel in any field, wherever you find yourself. And he is a testament to that. I hope that for as many of us who are confused about what to do with our lives, about what to do with the profession, so to speak, maybe those of us who are currently nursing interests beyond pharmacy practice, I hope that his story will give you a glimpse of hope that it is possible to be a pharmacist by training, yet be a professional in other fields while excelling in those areas. The reason we have Pharm Mitchelle Masuko telling us about building skills for career advancement is because she has been able to grow from practice in a local community pharmacy in Zimbabwe to a multinational company as a scientist, research in the field of research and development. Research and development isn't an area that is blooming right here in Africa, right here in Nigeria. So I hope that from her story, from all that she will be sharing with us today, you will be challenged to to see yourself as someone who can go places, that the world is your oyster, that somewhere in Lagos, somewhere in Abuja, somewhere in Port Harcourt, Kaduna, wherever you are in Nigeria, is not your limit, that you have the capacity to grow beyond that local space to the top of Nigeria, to the top of Africa, to the top of the world, indeed. And the reason from Yewande Adekoya, like I mentioned earlier, the reason she's sharing, she will be talking to us about community pharmacy becoming a value-adding professional is because of her enviable passion for community pharmacy practice. And when we chose that topic, there was no other person coming to mind than pharmacist Yewande Adekoya. Okay, I can read some of your comments in the chat section. Oh, second speaker is already my hero. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, I would like to hear from you. You may raise your hand to unmute yourself, so you can be called to unmute yourself, or you can type in the chat box. I'd like to hear from you. What are your expectations from today's session? Your expectations from today's session. Please let me know. Kindly type in the chat box or raise your hand so that you can be called upon to unmute yourself. What are your expectations for today's session? Anyone? Okay, all right. So I'd like to read from you. Please type in the chat box what your expectations are from today's session, or you can raise your hand to mute yourself. I see in the chat box, the second speaker is already my hero, third speaker, my muse, wonderful. Okay, thank you, Janet. I expect to be enlightened in today's session. Wonderful. What are your specific expectations from today's session? Please type in the chat box, okay? Ini says, my expectation is to get more clarity on community practice and to be exceptional. Wonderful, wonderful. I'm glad that all of our speakers have experience in community pharmacy practice. Pharm Kolawole Adeniyi, for example, runs a community pharmacy in Nigeria. Pharm Mitchelle was a community pharmacist before transiting to a multinational. And Pharm Yewande manages community pharmacies in Nigeria. So great, I believe you have more than enough knowledge at the end of today's session. All right, thank you very much for sharing your expectations with us. At this time, I'd like to invite pharmacist Kolawole Adeniyi to speak with us. You're very welcome, sir. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for the introduction, Taiwo. For me, I think it's always very nice speaking with, pharmacists. I really love to talk, actually. And then most especially, I love to talk to pharmacists. The reason is very simple. I trained as a pharmacist. I've been a pharmacist all my life, even though I don't like to identify as one. And I practiced the first 5 years of my career of 6. I practiced as a pharmacist. So it's always very nice when you talk to pharmacists that are still in school or, about to become pharmacists. And you sort of help to provide some guidance in terms of career choices, career options, and what they need to do to really succeed in whatever path they choose. So I'm happy to be here today. Having said that, I think for me, expectation-wise, this is really more. A session like this for me is a sort of session where I believe, or where I would love to have it as more engaging rather than me talking and then you guys listening to me. So I have a couple of slides, actually 3 slides to share, and after that. I would probably touch on a lot of things. I think you guys are already doing an amazing work because of the group that you belong to, the fact that you belong to a pharma incubation hub. When I was in school, 10 years, 11 years ago, sorry, 11, 12 years ago, yeah. When I was in school, career development or, forging ahead, trying to understand what what the profession is all about was more of an effort that you make on your own. But now you have, organizations, or let's say groups like Pharma Incubation Hub, you have Young Pharmacists Group of Nigeria, and so on and so forth, that actually provide active guidance to young pharmacists in terms of career choice, career development. So I will start sharing my screen. I would ask some questions, actually a couple of questions before I go into it. So please feel free to either type in the chat box or raise your hand and then talk to the rest of us. Let me know when you see my screen, please. Can you see my screen, guys? Hello?
Not yet, sir. Not yet.
Oh, okay. Sorry, network has been a bit somehow the last 4 or 5 days here. So if there's any problem with me getting disconnected and all that, let me know.
Okay, I can see your screen now.
Okay, perfect. All right. The topic of today's, like Taiwo already said, I think I'm not sure I should waste my time talking about this again, is thriving in a dynamic work environment. I've been opportuned, I would say, maybe I've been a bit lucky to have had the courage to work across different industries. I've worked in pharmaceutical industry. I've worked in e-commerce. I've done a bit of consulting outside the country, and now I've worked in FMCG as well. My work in FMCG and e-commerce was somewhat related because I was essentially the head of the FMCG category in e-commerce in Jumia when I was there. Before I then was head of marketing Pharm Danone. So now I work in telecoms. So what I can say is I might not be the expert in talking about how to thrive, but I do understand that I do understand what it entails in working in different work environments. So I think this knowledge will probably come a bit handy for you when you make your career choices post graduation. So before we go into it, just some couple of questions. Okay. All right. Does anyone know what the relationship between Apple and Tesla is today? Any relationship whatsoever, anything that connects them? Do you know? If you know, please raise up your hand and let's hear from you, or maybe just drop a message in the chat box. Do you know what connects Apple to Tesla? Anyone? Okay, but more specifically, someone said they are involved in technology. Can you be more specific? What really binds them? Innovation, close, but where exactly? What connects them as two, technological businesses beyond, technology, yeah, and then beyond innovation. So I would say, Apple today is, everybody knows they make phones, they make AirPods, they make iPads, laptops, iMac, if I want to be really specific. Tesla makes electric vehicles, right? So what really connects them beyond just the technology and the innovation and the fact that they are both trending right now is the simple fact is that it's simple fact that by 2024, they both will be electric vehicle. Oh, you're right. They are both in California, and their brand value is in trillions actually. Trillion for Apple, billion for Tesla. But what is critical here, what I want to mention, what is specific to the point of conversation today, is the fact that by 2025, Apple and Tesla will both be electric vehicle manufacturers. I mean, who would have thought, Apple going from a phone laptop manufacturer to being an electric vehicle manufacturer. So beyond career decisions, beyond where we work, even organizations are very dynamic today. They are now becoming, more and more dynamic, right? Apple is moving from just being a phone laptop manufacturer to also playing in the field that Tesla is well known today, which is electric vehicle, right? And now by 2024, 2025, Apple will also have their vehicles on the road. Will probably be, fully autonomous, like Tesla is moving towards at the moment as well. So next one is, excuse me, 7-Up bottling company and Dettol. Any connection? I mean, I'm bringing this home because, Tesla, Apple, the American companies, now you have 7-Up and Dettol in Nigeria. So who knows the connection between those two? Hello? So again, drop your chats, wherever it is you want to, your comments in the chat box.
Hello, everyone. It seems Pharm Kolawole has a network challenge on his end. He will rejoin the session soon. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Hello. I think that I got disconnected. Please let me know if you can see or hear me.
Yes, we can hear you now. So welcome back, sir.
All right, perfect. Again, apologies on behalf of all the network providers in Kano, right? Okay, so back to where I was. Who would have thought that 7-Up today and Dettol will be playing in the same field? So imagine if you, as an employee of 7-Up, you came into 7-Up as someone that can only work in a consumer product or maybe a drink company. And all of a sudden, your company that you work for is moving from just being a drink manufacturer to also going into sanitizers and soaps. And you feel, okay, no, you don't have the flexibility to work in any other organization apart from that of a drink manufacturer. that means you probably will lose your job and start looking for job with other companies because again, you don't have that flexibility. So today, organizations today have gone beyond, they are no longer as static as they used to be. Prior to now, organizations used to evolve over the course of maybe 20, 30 years. And now you see organizations evolving within the space of sometimes as short as 2-3 years, but 3 to 5 years cycle, you have organizations evolving. Because again, the needs of consumers are becoming different. Oh, sorry, I'm not sharing my screen. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. So my screen is back up now. So because consumer needs are becoming different, and if you want to become relevant, if you want to stay relevant in the space where you are, then you also need to evolve as consumer needs are evolving. So what's the dynamic, work environment? The very first thing, I think there are two critical things that you can use to identify dynamic work environments. The first one being they are rapidly evolving. And why do we have this, rapid evolution today compared to 50, 60 years ago? The first one is, there's technological advancement. So what normally would take innovations that would take 10, 15 years prior to now happen in the space of 6 months. A very good example is COVID vaccine. Before now, development of vaccines is probably a 5 to 10 years event. Now, because there has been an advancement in RNA technology and the likes, you have vaccine development. I mean, it's practically the first case of COVID was in 2019. I think the fourth quarter of 2019, specifically, I could say December. And by the end of by the middle of 2020, towards the end of 2020, we already have vaccines for those that were interested in taking such vaccines. So that tells us that today, there is the fact that we have a lot of technology advancement means that organizations now are becoming, they evolve rapidly. Also, we have consumer needs. Needs are changing. That also essentially means that there will be a lot of product innovation compared to, again, 50, 60 years ago. Consumer needs change, by the minute these days. You have, if you think about social media, between the first 10 years of social media space, you probably have just 1 or 2 social media platform. Now we have new social media platform coming up almost every 3 months. I mean, the popular ones. You have some that are not so popular that come up within every week, every 2 weeks. You have new, social media platform. And when you even deep dive into those social media platform, you also realize that they have new products being introduced by social media platform on almost a daily basis. So consumers, they are driving product innovation. They need this product innovation. You have new business models. Again, going back to Too Short, the brand of hand sanitizer and soap that 7up just launched, and 7up as a business, you realize that Too Short cannot operate the same way that that the entire 7up business operates. Again, because one is in drink category, and then the other one is hand sanitizer category. So you have new business models coming up every now and then, not just for new products, but even within the same organization. You have, for instance, giving the example of Danone, a Pharm milk in Nigeria, where we used to be heavily outdoor. So you have a shift in Danone from being an outdoor business model, a very conscious shift. It wasn't like it just happened. It wasn't serendipitous, if we use one of the words that in pharmaceutical chemistry. So you have some of this. You have a very conscious movement from an outdoor business model to an indoor business model. So again, this happened within the space of 2-3 years when we saw where the country was going, the fact that there was a lot of modern trade springing up. So there was a need for us to also be a part of that so we can assure our growth for the future. And then you have new route to markets. This happens every now and then, even for the same product that's not evolved, that's not changed. You have the fact that you have an opportunity in new business mode, in new route to markets, and then you develop such new route to market. So you have to be comfortable with innovation. You have to be comfortable with new ideas. You have to be comfortable with everything that is different from what you are used to, because this is what a dynamic working environment is all about: being comfortable, rapidly evolving, changing every now and then. So what then happens because of this rapid evolution is your skills become obsolete. So, I mean, not all your skills, of course. There's what we call transferable skills, where from one industry to the other, if you keep those constant, you can always apply it. It won't be the same application, but you have transferable skills that you can take from one industry to the other. But generally speaking, if you are an outdoor sales agent or an outdoor sales manager, for instance, once you go into indoor route to market, for instance, what you see is the bulk of the skills that you use as an outdoor sales manager is no longer there. You need the core sales skills might be transferable in terms of your soft skills, in terms of your the foundation of that knowledge. When I talk about foundation, for instance, consumer behavior will almost always be around the same nucleus. There might be changes in terms of expression of that behavior, but it's still the same need. So your understanding of that particular skill might be transferable, but the application of that skill is no longer transferable because you've gone from outdoor business route to market to indoor route to market. So you have to be comfortable with learning and unlearning new skills, because these skills get obsolete. You need to develop new skills on a per second basis. So this is a snapshot of a dynamic work environment. It doesn't capture everything, but it is. And for me, I think if there's anything it reminds me of, it's almost same thing as your undergraduate studies. It's always evolving, guys. If you think about Faculty of Pharmacy, you have pharmaceutical chemistry, you have pharmaceutical microbiology, you have pharmacology, you have pharmaceutics, you have all of that. So you have 100 level, 200 level, 300 level. What you are being taught is always changing, ever evolving. When you go from one class to the other, it's different. It's not the same thing. So you might have certain things that are similar across courses, but most times they are always different. So it's the same way. And like Taiwo mentioned, honestly speaking, I think the difference between us pharmacists and medical doctors is that our training encompasses different skill sets. The training sort of prepares you for the real life. It's not just one particular way of thinking. It's when you think about pharmaceutical chemistry, the way you think about it is different from the way you think about dispensing, for instance. It's different from the way you think about pharmacology. It's different from the way you think about what's the name of clinical pharmacy and pharmacy laws or something. I think that's what we call it. I can't remember. It never used to be one of my favorites. So it's different. So you kind of get a bit of law, a bit of being a scientist, a bit of thinking about business, if they still teach that or they teach that today in school. So that sort of prepares you for real life, because you're comfortable with different ideas. You are comfortable with different approaches. Your training has ensured that. Whereas medical doctors, you might go for different postings, but it's still the same hospital environment, and that doesn't stretch you as much. I mean, that's my opinion anyway. And this is why almost in any industry you go to today, you see pharmacists there in banking, in telecoms, in e-commerce, in FMCG. I mean, there are loads of pharmacists in FMCG. So that training really, really helps. So I think the first step has already been taken. You guys are pharmacy students, so I'm very confident that when you get out of pharmacy school, you'll be able to survive anywhere, no matter the frequent changes that you have in today's work environment. Now, what do you need to do to thrive in this environment? I think the first key thing for me, which I think is the most important. Every other thing is not as important. Nothing else is equally as important. The first thing is you have to have that flexibility in learning and unlearning, right? Without that, you get stuck. Even if you want to be a community pharmacist today, what will make you, or what made people successful 5-10 years ago is no longer what makes them successful today. Ask any community pharmacist that you know. It's even interesting that pre-COVID, what made you successful as a pharmacist, as a community pharmacist, is different from what will make you successful today. Now that we have COVID, now that we have a lot of changes in consumer behavior, in the way patients interact with pharmacists. So there has to be that flexibility. If there's anything you need to retain from this, is the fact that to thrive in a dynamic work environment, you need to have flexibility in learning and unlearning, right? There has to be constant learning. That is critical. And the good thing today is you don't need to go to school to actually learn. Google, for instance, is moving from asking for degrees to recruit people to, actually getting people to test their knowledge and see what they know and what they don't know before they make hiring decisions. So that is telling us today that potentially there might be a time when your university degree is not what gets you into any organization, but what you know. And today, there are lots of free resources where you can learn a lot. You have Udacity, you have Coursera, you have EDX. Anything you are interested in learning today, free, guys. Not you don't have to pay for some of this, because some people say, okay, but I don't have money. I'm an undergraduate, I have to pay in dollars. A lot of these courses are free. It's just about learning. It's not about the certificate. Certification is nice, but a lot of times the opportunity to show what you know gets you in there rather than the opportunity to share your certificate. So it's really not about your certificate, it's about what you know, what you can do. And part of that flexibility also, it gives you the ability to transition seamlessly between roles. So today I've gone from being a salesperson to being a marketing consultant, and then to being a marketing manager. These are all different roles, and then the skills needed to succeed in each of them, honestly speaking, are very, very different. So you need the fact that that I've always retained that flexibility. I've always had the ability to drop things I don't need, that I feel, okay, this knowledge is it's no longer useful, and pick up new things has been very helpful in being able to play those different roles, to transition between those roles seamlessly. So you need to have the flexibility. You need to learn, unlearn at all times. You need to really dedicate time. And this one thing I think, back to what I said earlier, okay, I'll touch on this later, but one thing you need to start is you need to really dedicate time to, it's every week. It's all about consistency. It's really never about, okay, I'm spending 20 hours in a week. How do you spread those 20 hours? If you spend 2 hours consistently every week to learn new things, for me, I think it's almost better than someone that learns for 20 hours this week, and the next time the person is learning something new is another 5-6 months. So you have to be consistent in learning new things, right? And then the next point is organizations are moving from task management to time management. From time management rather to task management. So as in a way, the way to succeed in this dynamic work environment is to start being task oriented, as against being time oriented. Why? Time oriented back then was, okay, you come to work at 9 a.m. in the morning, you leave your desk at 5 p.m. When people see you like this, they feel, yeah, you're getting your work done. maybe they still ask you for the task you're supposed to close, but what is important is at least you've showed up at work, right? But now, it's about, task oriented, because a lot of people now, we have a lot of remote work, where people work from home, and your manager doesn't know if you're, on your bed all day working, or if you're on the table working all day, or your manager doesn't know any of this. What he wants to know is, can you deliver the task that's been given to you? So task oriented, you have to know that, okay, the task is what is important, not the amount of time you spent on such tasks. So if you need to, seek for advice, you do. If you deliver what you're meant to deliver in 1 month, you deliver it in 1 week. Good for you. That's why today you have people that actually juggle 2 remote jobs, because again, they are task focused. So they can do this, get it done. Maybe what would take someone else 5 hours to deliver, they can deliver in 2 hours. So that gives them the flexibility to, do other things. And that's like an extra source of income for them. So task-oriented, task management, this is where you need to get to. The more comfortable you are with task management, the better for you as a person. The higher your chances of succeeding in today's the 21st century work environment. You have to be adaptable, and it's not just about you being adaptable. It's also about you showing that you are eager to embrace change. It's not enough when your manager can come to ask you, okay, I want to maybe move you from quality assurance to supply chain, and then you say, okay, yeah, I'm ready to take it. It's not enough. You have to actively seek such opportunities, so that people can see and they know your colleagues, either your managers or people that you're on the same level in the organization. When you get out, they know that, okay, this person is interested in doing all sorts. He's interested in working in quality assurance, supply chain, operations, even sales. So that eagerness to embrace change, shows people that you work with that you are very adaptable, and that goes a long way in ensuring that they offer you opportunities that allow you to do different things, and to allow you to grow your muscles, I would call it, because the more adaptable you are, I think the more that's that mental muscle that allow you to really succeed in any environment you find yourself. So you have to show that you're eager to embrace change. You're not just adaptable, you also need to show that you're adaptable. You need to tell people that, okay, guys, I'm willing, bring it on. Anything you want me to do, I'll take it. I'll do it for you. One thing I think you guys are already doing well by belonging to the Pharma Incubation Hub is, the support and guidance part is already being taken care of. So, by being part of this group, you know that, I think is a good step in the right direction, but it's not just enough to be part of the group. I think Taiwo is doing an amazing work, by organizing talks like this, but even among each other, you also need to share ideas. You need to seek for support. You need to, share knowledge. What we used to do back then, when I was in school, was this essentially, sharing knowledge. Okay, what do you want to do post-graduation? Why do you want to do that post-graduation? Have you thought about, doing these courses? There were not a lot of free resources then, but there were a lot of people we could talk to. Okay, have you spoken with, okay, there is this guy that did his MBA at this place. Have you spoken with him? Oh yeah, I've spoken with him. He said these are the things I needed to do. So you need to seek support among each other. You need to seek guidance, either among each other or even outside. But it's by talking to each other that you then know where to go to, who to talk to, and how to go about, the next steps. Then immersion in groups with strong work ethics and learning culture. I think this speaks back to the group that you already belong to. You need to, really, but beyond that, as undergraduates, when you also get out, you need to belong to that group. It's very easy to get lost post-graduation, because now you're not writing exams. You don't have anyone that you are answering to at home. You are very independent. This is when you really do need to develop those strong work ethics, that learning culture. This is when you shouldn't drop the learning culture that you already had imbibed in you when you were an undergraduate. So you get in there, you get out there, you have strong work ethics, you talk to people, you get yourself involved in whatever your organization is getting involved in. Even as volunteers, it doesn't have to, I tell people that the first 2 years of career doesn't really have to be about how much you earn. Some people will extend that to the first 4 or 5 years of your career. But for me, I think 2 or 3 years of your career is not about how much you earn. It's really about how much you learn. And so every opportunity that everywhere you find yourself that will give you the best opportunity to learn is where you should focus on at the beginning of your career once you get out of school. And honestly, this can only be by, speaking to the right people, belonging to the right group, having the right work ethics. Because sometimes when you don't have the right work ethics, you look at how much you earn and you think, okay, what you should deliver at work should be commensurate with what you take home. And that shouldn't be the case, because people always see what you do. They see how well you work with little pay, with a lot of pay, with little responsibility, with a lot of responsibility. They see all of that. So when there are better opportunities, the people that you've worked with initially, when the reward doesn't seem as much, will recommend you. They will say, okay, talk to this guy. He knows what he's doing, or is a strong, able worker. Is very fantastic. He's always willing to learn. He's willing to go the extra yard. So those are the things you need to start getting done immediately you leave school. And this then allows you to work in non-traditional work environments. And honestly speaking, the non-traditional work environment are those that are really dynamic. The traditional ones are dying off. They are not totally dead yet, but they are dying off. So it's only companies that can adapt, companies that are flexible today, that can really survive deep into the 21st century. I'll go back to the example of, before I close, I'll go back to the example of 7-Up. 7-Up, by launching Too Sure, when you compare, 7-Up also makes Pepsi, Mirinda, and 7-Up. So when you compare their total revenue from the drinks to Coke, for instance, that make Coca-Cola, Fanta, and I think Mountain Dew, or Sprite, sorry, and Sprite. I'm not sure of Mountain Dew. I'm not sure who makes Mountain Dew. I have to check that. So when you compare the revenue, you see that Coke, has a bigger share of the market. They have bigger market share. But by introducing Too Sure, by launching Too Sure during the height of the pandemics, we have an increase in revenue for 7-Up, at the point where people, because again, people are becoming more health conscious during COVID, at the point where they reduce their consumption of soda, of Coca-Cola, of Pepsi, of those sort of drinks. So rather than have a loss of revenue, 7-Up was able to channel the resources that they have into making a different brand that was, at that point, very relevant. I mean, it's still very relevant, but very highly relevant at that point in time. So they were able to make that, and again, assure that their profitability into the future. When globally speaking, Coca-Cola in Nigeria specifically is bigger than Pepsi, Pepsi, Mirinda, and 7-Up. But globally, the mother company of Pepsi, 7-Up, is much more bigger than Coke. Why? They are much more dynamic. PepsiCo has almost 50 brands globally, compared to Coke that have restricted itself to mostly soda. So the more dynamic you are as an organization, the better you are assured of your, sustainability into the future, profitability into the future. And the more dynamic you are as an employee, the greater your chances of success in such dynamic work environment. So that's it from me. Wish you the very best. And so thank you very much for listening.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very, very much, sir, for the insightful session. I definitely learned a lot. I learned something new. There's a shift from time orientation to task orientation. Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. I see applauses in the chat section. Wonderful. I'm glad you learned a lot. It would be great to hear you share your takeaways, guys. What are your takeaways from the first session we just concluded? You can type in the chat box or raise your hand so that you can be called upon to unmute yourself. And if you've got any question from all that Kolawole Adeniyi has shared so far, here is a time to share your questions. So please share your key takeaways and or questions. I would like to recognize all who are not pharmacy students, who have deemed it important to join this conversation. I see pharmacist Ayode Joni here. Thank you very much for joining, sir. Oh, I see a friend of mine, a doctor friend of mine who chose to join this session, Dr. Charles Okafor. Thank you very much for joining today's session. I see Pharm Thomas Akimian here. Thank you very much for joining this session. I see, who else here? Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you very much for joining. So here is the time to take your takeaways and questions. What are your key takeaways from today's session? Okay, Fumilayo says, thank you very much, sir. Being flexible in learning and being flexible in learning and dynamic enhances your sustainability. Great. Thank you very much. From Joanna Road, being more deliberate task management. Interesting. Yes, yes. Faith says, thank you, sir. I learned how important it is to focus on areas where I have the opportunity to learn. Great. Peter is asking a question. How did you transition from a practicing pharmacist to your first foray outside of pharmacy? Okay. So would you like to take that question? How did you transition from a practicing pharmacist to your first foray outside of pharmacy?
Okay, so I always get this question, right? So I would go straight to the point. I think clinically speaking, pharmacy practice is, we have several arms of pharmacy practice. There is the clinical pharmacy arm, there is the marketing arm. So when I finished school, I worked in the hospital for 1 year, worked in community pharmacy for 1 year with Health Plus, and then when I served, I was also working in Pharm clinic at that time. Then I got into Boehringer Ingelheim, Roche, Servier, where the key focus was, marketing and drug knowledge. I think at that point when I was working with those pharmaceutical companies, what struck me was one, there was a low ceiling in terms of growth, and then secondly, it wasn't as exciting as I thought as I would have loved my career to be. So then I started asking myself the question of, again, talking with my group of friends on what to do next. Part of one of those things was, okay, there's a need to transition out of the pharma industry to other industries like consulting and FMCG. For me, then those were the two industries of interest for me. So to transition to those two places, you need, or to those two industries, you need to have an MBA. Some people are able to make the jump without an MBA, but very few and far in between. And I figured to give me the best opportunity, the best chance of making that transition, that's important to get an MBA. Then applied for one, did an MBA outside the country. Then worked a bit in Europe after that for 6 months or 7, 8 months, I think. After which, one of the projects I worked on was with Pharm West Africa. So at that point, then they were looking for a marketing manager from Nigeria. No, sorry. After that, I couldn't get my work permit in Europe, so I had to come back to Nigeria and worked with Jumia. Then in between, Pharm was looking for marketing manager from Nigeria. My predecessor left, and then they needed someone to replace him. So the marketing director reached out to me. She was the project lead when we consulted for them from Garrison Group when I was working with Garrison Group in Milan. So, one thing led to the other, did the interviews, and that was it. But I think the point at which I made the transition was actually that decision to do an MBA. I was very clear on what I wanted to do. So my core focus then in MBA was in strategy and marketing. So you need to have that clarity, and that really helped in my transition.
Great, amazing. I think you touched on a very, very important aspect of professional and career development, which is clarity. You need to know what you want and where you desire to be so that you can take the necessary steps towards that desired destination. Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your story with us. I see Adebosuyi Olakunle wrote that he learned that it's important to be deliberate about one's skills and knowledge and to also develop transferable skills. Adebosuyi is also asking, what are the transferable skills which pharmacy students, or which students, in fact, generally should develop? Because I'm saying students generally because some persons who have joined are not even pharmacy students. I can see some medical students who have joined this call. So what are some transferable skills that students should develop in anticipation for a great career?
That's really tough to answer. Skills that you should develop in anticipation of a great career, I think, is your adaptability before you leave school, honestly speaking. Pharmacists alike, non-pharmacists alike, is your adaptability. Because what you realize is that if you feel you can only do what you've been taught in school, which was the mistake a lot of pharmacists and medical doctors make, because when you look at engineering students, for instance, if you go to P&G, if you go to a lot of the top FMCG companies in the country today, you see a lot of engineers, people that were trained as engineers, people that were trained as microbiologists. You see a lot of them that are working in different non-related departments, marketing, sales, sometimes you see an engineer in quality assurance, and then you see them in operations. An engineer, engineer operations is still related to engineering a bit, but you see a lot of when you look at marketing and sales, you see that there are a lot of these people. They were not trained for this, but they are comfortable being there. So what happens is they have that sense of adaptability coming out from school because they did not feel that they are ready or they are made for a particular industry. They feel, okay, for them, a job is a job. So once they get out of school, I just need a job. Of course, you need a job that gives you good career development opportunities. So they go to the likes of P&G, go to the likes of Nestle. They apply for roles there. It doesn't matter if it's in marketing as a junior brand manager or an assistant brand manager. It doesn't matter if it's a salesperson. It doesn't matter. It's just I just want to get into Nestle. I just want to get into P&G. Whereas for us pharmacists, medical doctors, when we finish school, we are thinking, okay, I want to be a community pharmacist, or I want to work for Roche, Boehringer Ingelheim, Servier. You are thinking, within that industry. You feel that's the only way you can survive. Same thing for medical doctors. They're thinking of going to hospitals. So the biggest skill you can have leaving school, that you can leave school with, is adaptability, where with your undergraduate degree, you feel comfortable to apply to any organization. That's okay, wherever it is. Everybody's starting afresh. So wherever it is you find yourself, the knowledge you need to survive in any of these organizations is not really what you've been taught in school. It's actually what you are going to learn on the job. And so you trust yourself that you're adaptable enough to start learning on the job. So your adaptability, your learning skills, I think those two things are the most critical when you leave school. Now, when you get out of school and you find yourself in a particular role, then you start adding a lot more of those kind of transferable skills. It could be marketing skills, it could be consumer understanding, it could be sales management, it could be key account management, but you won't know until you actually get into your first role. So what is key for your first role? Adaptability, learning skills, I think.
Fantastic, fantastic adaptability and learning skills. Thank you very, very much for sharing those key points with us, sir. Ajiboye Eniola wrote, thank you so much for the session, sir. My takeaway is that consistency and flexibility are very important in career development. We should also be eager to embrace change as the world is advancing. I also learned to be more task-oriented instead of being time-oriented. Great. Jacob wrote, thank you very much, sir. I have learned that as pharmacy students, we've been trained to thrive in any work environment, as our courses are being compiled in such a way that we become flexible and very versatile. Mary Teresa wrote, I learned that I have been able to learn that I have to be able to learn and unlearn new skills, to be task oriented than time oriented, and that the more dynamic I am, the more I am able to thrive in a dynamic environment. Peter wrote, my key takeaway is adaptability because of the dynamism in today's work or business environment. Great, great. So do we have further questions, guys? Please share in the comment section, or you can raise your hand so that you can unmute yourself. I've got a question. I think that it's admirable to be able to fit into any or as many roles as possible. But how do you create that balance such that you're not spreading yourself too thin, such that you're still able to such that you're able to build the right competencies that you require for what you desire to be career-wise? I mean, how do you create that balance such that you're not just going any and everywhere? Such that you're not going any and everywhere. So that you build competencies or capacity. You are not jack of all trades.
Okay. I mean, it's a good question, right? And I think the answer lies within, what you do in the first 3-4 years of your career, right? Once you do that, you find where you are most comfortable. I mean, when I say where you're most comfortable, the skills you're most comfortable with. So when I started working in Brush, Boringa, and Survey, I realized that, man, the role, what I'm most comfortable with in terms of skills is marketing. Not marketing as in what you guys, or what most people call marketing today. You go to banks, for instance, they call these people marketers, whereas they're just business development. Marketing as in product, bringing a new product to life, determining the price that would, the optimal price that would allow it to sell the most, distribution sometimes as well, and then advertisement. So I was very comfortable with this. I was very comfortable with creating awareness for certain products. And I realized, the more I kept reading about marketing at that time, the much more I feel really comfortable that this should be my next career path. So immediately I got into when I went for my MBA, and I thought about, when people were trying to specialize, thinking they were having major difficulties in deciding on what their area of specialization should be. It was very clear for me that this is marketing and strategy. So then what you then notice is there has been a common thread, through all my career post MBA. It's been that every role I was in has been a marketing role. And it's, head of FMCG category in Jumia, marketing consultant with Garrison Group, head of marketing for Danone, and now regional marketing manager for Airtel. Every of this role, strictly marketing. So today, if I'm offered a role as maybe sales manager, for instance, I've had a number of offers along this line that I've had to reject because it doesn't fit in with my future aspirations. So you need to also, this is where the clarity also comes in. You need to know where you want to be in the future. And part of that is knowing that, okay, knowing what to say no to and what to say yes to. So anything that doesn't allow me to make the best use of the skills that I've acquired over the years, which is the marketing, it's not for me. This is how to ensure that even though you feel comfortable in any organization, you should also try to stick to what you know best as much as possible. You can have growth. There are a number of ways you can grow in today's economy. You can either grow in the same organization, which is again becoming more and more difficult today. Why is because again, organizations are becoming more dynamic. So you have more younger people at a place of work. So you don't have then sometimes you also don't have the mobility or the I'll call it mobility in some organizations, especially for Nigeria. In Francophone African countries, you have a lot of movement between, say, the country where you're working and other Francophone countries, or you go, even to France sometimes in the HQ. But for Anglophone countries, you see that sometimes after 3-4 years in the same role, once it's a senior manager role, the best way to then grow is no longer by seeing the opportunity for promotion within the same organization, but actually outside the organization. In Franco, the way they've been able to tackle this is you've seen that people actually get promoted or they get transferred outside such countries. So I have one of my mentors, for instance, has worked in she started her career in Cameroon. She's worked in Ivory Coast, she's worked in Ghana, she's worked in she's worked in those 3 countries, and then she's worked in France as well. You don't see this happening a lot for Nigerians. So that leaves you with 1 or 2 options. You stay in the same company, in the same role for many years, or you grab the next opportunity after 3-4 years of seeing that, okay, I think I've maximized my potential in this place. So I would love to go experience somewhere else or go use these skills somewhere else. But again, you need to keep that commonality. And for me, that commonality is marketing. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And I think the primary thing here is clarity still. Clarity of your desired destination. What do you want? And from your own story, you were able to identify what you wanted, and that led you to make the decision to do an MBA. Of course, after speaking with the right persons in your network. So today, you mentioned a lot about clarity of right network. Yes, clarity, right network, flexibility, adaptability. And I think that these are key points for participants of Pharma Incubation Hub who are still pharmacy students. Some of them are just starting pharmacy school. Some are ending pharmacy school, they're in final year. And some people on this call are even young pharmacists. Some are still interns, some are core members, some are post-NYSC pharmacists who are still trying to find their feet career-wise. And we've got people here who are not even pharmacists, but who are young professionals as well, who are seeking avenues to gain that much needed clarity so that they can make right career decisions. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your thoughts with us in the last 50 minutes. At this point, since there are no other questions on ground, I'd like you to share with us your closing words. Yes, especially as we aspire to be more excellent professionals wherever we find ourselves.
Okay, thank you very much for having me, but what I would say again is, guys, I think you're already on the right path, belonging to this group, being interested in joining the hub, the Pharma Incubation Hub, being part of the young professional group, honestly speaking, I think you are already on the right path. When you compare yourself to the rest of your classmates, colleagues, what you realize is that you are one of you're a bit different from the rest of them because you feel that your career choice is very important to you. What you're going to do next is very important to you. So I would say, okay, keep that up. Don't hesitate to reach out to people to help. There is really no stupid questions in this career journey. We are all, trying our best to make the best of what we have. We are all trying to discover how to, best navigate this path. So don't think that you know it all. You can never ever know it all. I mean, I have a mentor, as I mentioned to you. I actually have a couple of them. One FMCG, the other one that is just like a general mentor. So, and I'm 100% sure that my mentors also have mentors. So what that tells you is that nobody has quite figured it out 100% yet. So again, do not hesitate to reach out to people to support you. Do not hesitate to ask questions of those that you feel are on the same path that you want to do, and maybe they can help provide clarity. And I think the sky is the limit, or like some people say, the stepping stone. But anyway, bottom line is there is a whole route to succeed out there, guys. Just make the best of all the resources that you have around you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. So how can we reach out to you? Remember earlier I had mentioned that networking is a key part of all that we preach. And I know that I haven't met you physically, but we have been connecting like we've known each other for ages, right? And someone's already asking to in the comment section, how can we reach out?
So I just dropped my email address, and I'm also dropping my LinkedIn name. So you can connect via LinkedIn, or you can just drop me an email. Okay.
Great. Yes, it does. So guys, you can reach out to Pharm Kolawole, Adeniyi via email or via LinkedIn. Thank you so much. It has been a great use of our time. Thank you so much, sir. All right. Okay.
Right.
All right. So guys, we are off to the next session with Mitchelle Masuko, and she is Zimbabwean, right? She's not Nigerian. So I like that we're learning from someone who is not from our own country. But of course, we are connected because we are all Africans. And I think that similar situations apply in different parts of Africa. So we will be learning from Pharm Masuko, who started her career as a community and clinical pharmacist in Zimbabwe and has now transited into her current role at Merck Pharmaceuticals as an oncology clinical scientist. She currently holds a master's in public health, where she focused on policy and health management. I think that it's going to be a very exciting session. So I encourage you all to open your heart, open your mind to learn. I think I saw in the audience someone that I would like to confirm. Okay, someone else. All right then. Thank you very much, Pharm Masuko, for joining us. Please, you have the floor.
All right, thank you. Let me just turn on my video. Can you all see me?
Not sure. We can see your background. Okay, now we can see you.
Okay, with Zoom, we always have your cameras off. Okay. Right. I'm just going to share my screen. All right, let me know when you can see the screen.
Okay, not yet, but someone in the comment section is already saying my future mentor is next. The person has already claimed you.
Oh, okay. All right, okay. I'm open to as many mentors as I can get. Mentees that I can get. Okay, can you see my screen now?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. Let's see what's happening. Okay, how about now?
Not yet. Yes, we can.
All right. Excuse the background, that's my baby crying. All right, great. So thank you so much for allowing me to speak to you guys. It's such an honor. And before we start, I also want to say thank you to the previous speaker. You touched on important points that are also going, some of the things I was like, oh my God, he's now saying things I had planned. What am I going to talk about? But I will find something to talk about. But yeah, thank you so much for touching on really important aspects that will help our students or young professionals on the call to really advance in their career, which is what I'm going to be focusing on in my topic. So what we are going to be talking about is building skills for career advancement. And before we go, so thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. And you really touched on all the things I have done over the years from the time I graduated to where I am now, which is something I'm going to be touching on as well as I go through the presentation, because I figured it's important to just not talk about, oh, this is what you need to do, but also tie it back to what I have done personally or what I've experienced personally in my career. As you heard, I am from Zimbabwe. That is where I did my undergrad, practiced pharmacy in Zimbabwe for 5 years, mostly in in retail pharmacy, and then I did a little bit of clinical pharmacy as a toxicologist. And then I moved to the US for my MPH because me and my family were moving here. That's where I did my MPH, and then now I'm a clinical scientist. So this picture is just to show you that in as much as I'm a clinical scientist, I'm a pharmacist, I'm doing all this, I'm a human being, right? And my values are my family. As you can see, that's my husband, that's my little baby who was crying in the background. And my hobbies, I do have side hobbies as well. I love baking. I love events planning. And yeah, so that's who I am as a person before we get started, so that at least for you, you just open your minds and just like, okay, this is just a person just like us. So this is me, guys. I'm just like easygoing, and I love my profession. I love my life. I love my family. So feel free, during the presentation to stop me, or if you have any questions about my career and the things I'm going to be talking about. All right. So just based on what I told you about myself, already you can see that my path hasn't been a straightforward path where you go to school and then you're done with school. For us as pharmacists, you go either to retail pharmacy or industrial pharmacy, and then maybe you stay there, right? I've done that, and then I've moved away, went to do my MPH, which you might think is completely different from what I went to school for initially. And then after I was done with that, I went back again to the industry. That is just to show you that with career, sometimes it's not a straight path, right? You go about it in a zigzag way, as I would want to call it, because as you grow older, as you get new experiences, you start to learn more about yourself and to know about like the things that you actually enjoy doing, the things that spark the fire in you. And that way you can then start exploring. So what am I saying? All I'm saying is it's never too late to change course. It's never too late to start something new in your career. And today I'm just going to talk about some of the skills you need to advance your career in a way that you're not stuck, right? Say you choose to be in retail pharmacy. It doesn't mean that you're going to stay there for a very long time. It doesn't mean that if you're in industrial pharmacy, you're going to stay there for a long time. If you have certain skills, you can go anyway. As you had the previous speaker, he is a pharmacist, right? But he has worked in so many industries. He has done so many things that you would otherwise think the pharmacist cannot do. So hence the reason why you should always keep an open mind with regards to your career. Right. So we have all seen this. For those who are pharmacists, I understand there are some people who are not pharmacists, and you can just look at this and think about what you have been taught with regards to your own professions, right? So with pharmacists, there are so many career prospects. You can go into regulatory affairs, hospital, pharmaceutical marketing, research and development. I would like to say, as pharmacists, you can work anywhere, right? We all know that. So this is just something to think about as we go through the presentation and even afterwards. The world is your oasis. You do not have to have a closed mind when it comes to pharmacy, because a lot of times the one that's really open is you probably going to retail, right? Which for me in Zimbabwe, retail was the easiest to be part of, because there are pharmacies everywhere. And I mean, sometimes they really want cheap labor, you know. I know it's sometimes not talked about how when you become a senior, you have your own pharmacy, you're looking for interns in quotes, when all you really need is, you know, cheap labor. We have been through that. And I'm hoping that everyone on this call won't be that person. So these are some of the career prospects we have as pharmacists, but that is not all, right? So also the other thing we've learned through school, I'm hoping if at least you're in your final year, second year, maybe first years, they haven't seen this before. Some of the core competences that a pharmacist has to have or is learning from the time they start school to the time they graduate, right? Professional practice, whether you're in retail, you're in industry, and anywhere you go, really, you have to be professional, right? Public health, we are here to serve the public. We are here to be custodians of people's health in the public, right? Supply of medications, we see that everywhere because we are, again, the custodians of medications. Safe and rational use of medicines. We talk about pharmacovigilance, organization and management skills. Once you become a pharmacist, you're automatically a leader. You are a manager. Somehow, some way, you are going to be a manager or a leader. And then personal skills that will just help us with all these other core competencies which create a pharmacist. So the interesting thing and why I wanted to point this out is these are some of the things we learn when we're in school, right? These are some of the things that our professors, our teachers, they are supposed to make sure that by the time we graduate, we have these competencies. However, they do create the pharmacist, right? And when you graduate, you and your colleagues are at the same level playing field. You are literally the same, you have the same knowledge. In as much as you can be different in the way you approach life, you're somehow the same. So what sets you apart? That's what I want to talk about today. Okay, so in addition to the core competencies that you're going to learn in pharmacy school, which I just touched on previously, which I'm sure you have been working on already in school or you're still working on. They are what you call soft skills. So soft skills are the skills that will set you apart from your colleagues, right? So today there are so many of them. I mean, you can look them up, after we're done with this session. But today I'm just going to be focusing on three main core personal or soft skill competencies. So there's communication, there's thinking, there's personal and social competencies. Right. So communication, I mean, we have, for you to advance in your career, no matter where you go, you have to be able to explain and reflect on experiences and accomplishments, right? Remember, I said when we graduate, we are the same. We all know how to dispense medication. We all know pharmacology, pharmacovigilance, all the things that we learn in school. But then what sets you apart and the skill that's going to help you advance in your career is communication. Are you able to articulate well your accomplishments, right? Imagine you get into an interview and you're asked about, your education, and then you just say, oh, yeah, I went to pharmacy school and I'm a pharmacist. Okay, what do pharmacists do, right? You have to be able to talk about your accomplishments, and that's to say public speaking. I know it's not for all of us. Some people are introverts, and speaking is not the first thing you would want to do. You would rather die than talk to anyone. But unfortunately, if you want to advance in your career and if you want to be noticed, you have to be able to connect and engage with others. You have to be able to communicate both verbally and even like in written communication. So what do we do? How do you do that if you're an introvert? I mean, for extroverts, hey, this is something that comes naturally to them. They enter a room, the next thing they're talking about themselves, about everything they've done. But how about for those people who cannot do that, right? Practice public speaking, number one. This will help you become more confident, more articulate, and you'll be able to interpret and present information in a way that people can remember you, they can understand, and if an opportunity comes that will help you advance your career, your name will come up first. And how do you do that? Practicing public speaking is easy as I want to think. We all have phones, right? We have YouTube, we have Instagram, we have TikTok, so many social media apps out there. All you need to do is to look up influencers who are public speakers, right? And just listen to them, look at them, and learn from them. How do they speak? And when I say how do they speak, I do not mean their accent, because as Africans, I mean, I can speak the whole day about, having an accent in a predominantly, white environment, or having an accent in a different country. I am in the US right now, and no matter how much I try to code switch or whatever, people will always be like, you have an accent. I do not understand what you're saying. So when I say being able to articulate or express yourself, it's not about having a British accent or American accent. You can speak the way you speak, but the information has to come out in a way that people understand. So these things you can learn through public speaking, right? And then another thing with public speaking is also monitoring your body language. Obviously it depends on what you're talking about. You have to show excitement, enthusiasm, using gestures, making sure that your audience is engaged. In that way, you will be remembered. And again, your name will come up when an opportunity that might advance your career comes up. Another communication that we have to really look at is is writing. In school, we are always writing papers, we have dissertations, and then somehow once you get into industry, you forget that, because for instance, if you're in retail pharmacy, you don't really write much, right? I mean, you do write a little bit, but not really. So sometimes it's so easy to forget your writing skills, and there's shortcuts. When you're texting, we're using, LOL, all those shortcuts. It's so easy to get stuck in that environment. And then when you really need to write, say you need a professional paper, or now you are in a company where you have to be writing emails, you might find yourself writing emails that are not really good and professional. And just that small thing can put people off and be like, oh yeah, Michelle is not professional because look at her email. So we really have to practice even our writing so that we can advance our career in that way whenever a need arises. Imagine you are engaging with people via LinkedIn and you don't write professionally. Things like salutations, good morning, ma'am, good morning, sir. I am Michelle, I'm looking for a job, and this and that. You might find yourself saying, hey, hi, and it's like, oh, who are you? Do you know me? So things like that, some of the things really have to take note of. So communication, number one. Communication with your peers, communication with your patients, communication with your community is really important, and it will help you advance your career. So that's number one. And then number two, create